Oh, welcome to this week's leadership video. Yep, I'm at it again. Got a project. The plumbing has gone bad under the sink. Last night we were walking around in the kitchen and the floor was a little bit squishy. And so instantly I ran under the sink and I found this pipe that had just a pinhole in it. It was doing about 98% of its job. Doing a great job on 98% of what it was supposed to be doing. But that little 2% was a killer. Hey, last week I asked all of you if you had any ideas, any things that were going on in your groups that you just wish that you had a little more input on. And one of you put back, he says, you know what, in my group, what the issue is that old struggle between good and great. That we just get satisfied with good. You know, that this pipe was pretty good. 98% accuracy. And if I would have just left it alone, the house would be flooded, the cupboards would be ruined. Eventually, the place would just turn into mold and it would not be a usable place. Hey friends, in the whole area of good to great, God speaks about it. He really does. He uses His word. Paul wrote to the Ephesians, and the letter to the Ephesians was a letter to a group of churches. It was a circular letter that when one church was done with it, it was intended to be passed on to another church. And when they were done studying it, it was passed on to another church. Hey, give me just a second. I'll be right back. Listen to what Paul said to the Ephesians. Be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us, as a fragrant offering and a sacrifice to God. But among you there must not even be a hint of sexual immorality, or of any kind of impurity, or of greed, because these are improper for God's holy people. Did you get that picture? Not even a hint of it. And so in our lives, it's easy to just be satisfied with pretty good. And how do you know if we're good? Well, we measure ourselves against others. But that's not what we're called to do. Some of you may be thinking right now, and rightfully so, well, where does grace fit into this? I thought this was a grace kind of issue. Here's where grace fits in. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. Here's where grace fits in. That while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Friends, that's what grace is. Grace isn't this constant we going to God and say, oh, forgive me, and become casual about not our best, not in sin, not in our prayer lives, not in every aspect of our life. Are we giving our very best? Or are we satisfied with good? Hey, you know what? If I came home, or Lynn came home right now, and I'm under the sink, and I said to her, you know, while I was working under here, I came to a conclusion. My goal is to be a good husband. But I've really decided I'm not shooting for great. That's just way too much energy, way too much time. Would she be pleased? Would she say, hey, that's okay. I'll settle for good? Friends, I want to be a great husband because I love my wife. The reason that we want to be great followers of Jesus Christ, the reason we want to be fully engaged followers of Christ is because He has extended grace to us, has loved us, And now we want to love him back. So I'm going to encourage you, strive for excellence in everything we do. Don't settle for 98% good. Let's shoot to love God with everything that we have. Let's shoot for the best. Hey, I better get back to work or we're not going to have any water in here. But you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.